August 29, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the charts look like today. This was the pre-market, and on the open, it kind of pushed up in one big leg, consolidated briefly, then pushed up on a second leg, and for pretty much the last 4 hours of the day, it just kind of was in this really small trading range. There was only two pieces of economic data that came out today that was kind of important. One was the CV consumer confidence and also the job openings report, which both came out around 7 a.m., which is about right here. Now, right here, you could argue it caused this move up, but you could clearly see the move was already happening right on the open. I couldn't really find a good trade or a good entry during this big move up, unfortunately, because it looked like if you could find good entry, you could have rode this up for at least, let's see, 44.93 to about 45. I mean, you could have rode it up for easily probably 40 points, which is pretty phenomenal if you could get it, probably 30, 40 points. More likely, you would have gotten it probably 10 points before you take profits. And I only took two trades today. They're both green trades. They're kind of right here where things are starting to consolidate. And that's where I also saw most of the setups. It wasn't as much as the move was made here. There wasn't that many entries that I could find that were high probability. So it's unfortunate because I saw some entries in early on. Then, this whole move leaves you in the dust or left me in the dust. And then this consolidation area is where I saw more setups. But unfortunately, if you were trading with a runner, you don't really get quite a epic running trade here. So I'm going to go into the trades right now. So this is the pre-market highs and lows. I've marked it. And as you can see, it wasn't really a range day. It was more of a big swing day and then kind of a range day towards the last 4 hours. So on the open, the first setup I saw was, okay, there's a new low here. First created comes a first entry short. Let me zoom in a little bit closer. Pulls up, makes a second entry short. There's a lot of overlapping trend lines here, but originally this red channel is what I had. So I'm just going to speak with respect to this red channel just because in real time, this is what I saw. I saw first entry short, second entry short. I'm thinking there's potential failure because I like those one touch, two touch. And the top of the range, there's only two confirmations up here. Excuse me, top of the channel. I was seeing this. I like what the EMA was holding. It's bouncing out the bottom of the channel, and I thought there was enough room to the high. And when the trigger bar formed, then I thought, okay, looks like there's two clean legs up, one move up, pull back, second move up. Here, there's just enough room if you took it above the trigger bar to get your 1 point scalp. But if this had only been a better signal bar, I think this would have been a possible trade. But since this signal bar closed kind of neutral, it's hard to say it's safe to take a trade one tick above. And then when you get confirmation of the failure, now feels a little too late. Even though you have enough room to scalp out, it just feels a little dicey. Prices continue moving up. I see another setup. So I reset the count. I said new low here, first entry short, second entry short, the count resets. I saw first entry short here, pulls up. This is the signal bar. It's ready to create a second entry short, confirms second entry short. But I am not ready to take a short just yet, even when I saw this, because even though there's enough room to get down to the EMA, it is kind of going counter trend. And you can already clearly see it's making one kind of big push up so far. And at this point, I was thinking we're still within this trading range formed by the pre-market highs and lows. The flash is down. You got a confirmed second entry short. I'm guessing there might be a failed second entry short because it's bouncing off the bottom of this channel. And so when this one forms, it actually creates this candle, this green one's actually one tick smaller than this candle. So there's a lot of buying and selling going on here. There's a big push down and the buyer stepped in, but they weren't strong enough to break above this by one tick. So even though this is setting up to be a potential failed second short, I had wished that it actually broke just slightly above, then I might have gotten my order ready. So here I wasn't ready to take anything. I just needed, you know, because this pushing already to the highs here, I just needed this to actually close a little lower, or maybe this candle shouldn't have been so bearish. And here, if I did take an entry, it looks like it would have gotten filled, and then this one would have gotten you the scalp. Then prices continue moving up. I'm still working with this red channel at this point. I see an overshoot here. Prices are coming down. It creates a new high, first entry long. Creates here a second entry long. But I just noticed that it's an overshoot of this red channel, because keep in mind this yellow channel doesn't exist yet. And I had this green channel coming up, so I thought, okay, well, it looks like it's overshooting this red channel. It made one push up, potential second push up. It might want to come back and test the lower side of this red channel. So I was just waiting. I saw this. Okay, so it's still second entry long. Here, the second entry long fails. So I saw the second entry long fail. The signal bar is technically this guy. It's too doji. So when I saw this print, I wasn't ready to take a trade either long or short. This one confirms the failure, but now it feels like it is counter trend to the overall trend of the bullish push up. And it's coming off an overshoot. So it pushed once, pushed twice. You're thinking it might come back down, or maybe the uptrend, it might be playing out. I wasn't sure it was in a trading range yet, so I just had to pretty much sit on my hands, and I just waited. So it came back. It looked like it bounced off the bottom of this channel, this red channel here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this guy for now, just to make things more clear. So I saw this, it saw a potential bounce, but I just had to wait. It looks like it's going within this trading range now. It breaks out, so it has an overshoot here, comes up. Now it's kind of definitely pushing out past this red channel, and it looks like it's holding, but it pushes back up. At this point, I'm not 100% sure the red channel is valid. That's where I end up drawing this yellow channel. I said I actually like this touch here and this touch, and on the top side I like this touch and potentially this touch when this started to form. So I was still working off of both, but I wasn't 100% sure which one was dominating. It looks like it's chopping. Let's go ahead and move this all the way up here. Technically have a new high here, first entry long. You technically have a second entry long, and it's a bounce off this bottom of this red channel that I was working with. However, I don't like the signal bar, so I had to leave it alone. Prices continue chopping left and right. I don't really see a good clean setup, but clearly you're in a very bullish uptrend now, so I wasn't sure what was going on. And so I know that it's probably might be a failed breakout, but it feels like the failed breakout already tried to happen here and try to go back in, but it didn't. So now it's pushing up clearly. At this time, I was wondering about this red channel because I had this overshoot. It's still fitting somewhat, but now when this one broke out, it's getting a little messy. So when I had this yellow one as a secondary, I liked it a little bit better. So for now, I'm just going to remove this red one, saying that it kind of played out for now. So I'm working with this yellow one. I like the one confirmation. Had a slight overshoot, but it looks like it is kind of fitting and holding prices a little bit better. Prices continue moving up. I saw a potential measured move because I saw one big leg up. There was a consolidation and a potential second leg up. So it made the measured move now. So I'm wondering if there's actually going to be a push back down. Looks like it's having some struggles. It is chopping around. I draw this. Well, I haven't drawn it yet. When I saw this kind of confirmation, I knew there's some kind of resistance up here. And I was wondering if there's a channel, excuse me, a range that's being in play here. And is also having the effect of the measured move. Pushes up, kind of just keeps going up higher, comes back down. It's wondering if there's going to be another confirmation down here, because right now you have three good confirmations. One, two, three. There's a fourth one, and now it's potentially a fifth one, but it might be getting tired and moving back in. So I had to wait and watch. I had a first entry long, second entry long was a terrible signal bar, no trade there. Chops around, it comes back down, it creates this little support area, comes back up, potential resistance area. So I draw this as a potential range, but it isn't very clean. It isn't very good to trade off of that I could, in my opinion. I did have a new high here, first entry long. You do technically have a second entry long here. I don't like this as a second entry long just because it looks like it's just also one leg. So this could just be noise. On a larger context, yes, you also have a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short failure here as soon as it ticks one tick above. So it technically hasn't failed yet. So I was considering when I was looking for a trade, I said, okay, there's a new high. It's a first entry long, pulls back a second entry long. The second entry long hasn't failed yet because, well, technically the second entry long here, it looks like it failed right here, but also first entry short, second entry short, and a potential second entry short failure. What was giving me pause was this is pretty close, and then this was pretty close. So it was a little bit congested, and I like these second legs or second entries to be a little bit more clear. These one tick, I guess these one tick violations always make me have a little bit of a pause. So here, if I were to try to find a trade or to force a trade, Actually, I don't think I would try to force a trade to take a trade because this is also at the middle of this trading range and just a little congested. So I would just have left it alone. You could have, because I was also debating while this is happening, thinking maybe this is an overshoot and push back down. And maybe there's one leg down, push up, and then maybe a second leg down, touch the bottom here. But as you can see, it flashed up. And then at that point, I kind of decided that this is probably the top of the range. Then it goes into this channel and starts flying upwards. But unfortunately, there's no trade here. At this point, I am thinking maybe there's one gigantic leg from down here, consolidation, and I copied this guy and put it right here, thinking there's going to be this huge leg all the way up. Let's see, let me clear some things out. But looking back, I kept looking backwards to see if I potentially missed a trade because this is big move up. Unfortunately, I couldn't confirm or justify there was any kind of entry. Technically, there's a second entry long here, but so far from the EMA, it's so close to the top, I just didn't think it was worthwhile trade. You can make the same argument here, like a first entry long and then pull back a second entry long. Technically, you have a third entry long, or you can look at it as one leg down, push up, second leg, and then another leg up. But that just isn't very clear to me. So then prices continue moving up. It's fitting nicely in this channel. This is actually where I take my first trade because here it's clearly in a very bullish trend now, right? So also, this is the first break of this channel. So I saw this as one push up. Now it's a break. And I'm thinking when it touches this EMA, this probably has enough momentum on a day like this to take a second entry long and have it come back up and test the highs. So that's exactly what I did. I took this trade also based upon the fact that this is a 1 point risk, or this candle is only 1 point. So if you had one tick below, one tick above, it's only 6 ticks of potential risk. So I actually just went ahead and took this trade. And when this one first formed, I was watching carefully and I liked that it was holding strong. That's where I actually dropped in the limit order, one tick above. It came back, picked me up, and closed at the high. When I saw the close here, it gave me more confidence this trade potentially would work out. And it allowed me to get the quick scalp right at the top right here. I wasn't going to try to push for anything more, just a very quick conservative trade. Prices came back down. If I tried to go for 2 points, I think I would have gotten stopped out on this candle. I also saw a new high here. It's a first entry long. Technically, a second entry long is about to form. And I also saw a potential triple test here. So I saw it was like one push, two push. This is the third time it's supporting, and there is enough room back to the top. But I thought, okay, there might be a potential trade here. It's a good bar. And it's off the, well, EMA doesn't matter as much, but in context, it is kind of holding. So it's just another little piece of information you can use to help find if this is a high probability trade. Any little bit of thing going in the favor of the trade is always helpful. And so here, the EMA is kind of in its favor, even though it's flattening out. It looks like, to be honest, if I took this trade, I didn't though, I think I would have gotten stopped out because from here, it's the high of 41.90. So let's just go ahead and find the high here. The high here is 44.91.50. So I would need to get out at 44.93. This doesn't make it up to 44.93. It actually makes it one tick below 44.92.75. So most likely I wouldn't have gotten filled here. This candle, I suspect this red one would have stopped me out unless I kept my stop loss below this very low. And then this one probably would have gotten the fill. So this one's a little bit hard for me to know if it would have been a profitable trade or not. Nevertheless, I thought at the time this might have been a good trade, and I just didn't take it at the time. But I imagine that if I did, I probably would have lost on it. Then prices break out of this trading range. And right now, I didn't have this orange trading range in place, so I'll go ahead and remove him. I saw this as a new high. Let me go ahead and zoom in. I also saw this as, excuse me, I saw this as a new high. It's a first entry long up here, second entry long. Also saw this as a localized new low. I saw this as a first entry short, second entry short. Now, there's two things going for it to tell you to go short. It's a second entry short and a failed second entry long. So technically, the second entry long hasn't failed yet. But what I didn't like is it formed above the EMA, and the EMA is breaking out. I'm thinking there could be a potential failed breakout, and it could be fading back in. But this channel or this range is too tight compared to the size of the breakout. Because if this range was actually higher, then I'd be more convinced it could be a potential failed breakout. But since it moves so much, pretty much double the range, I was reluctant to take a short also it felt like it was counter trend because clearly the market is strong in the bullish sense today. So I didn't want to take a trade. This one confirms the failed second entry long because the first entry long, second entry long failure. It also had new low, first entry short, second entry short. It confirms second entry short. It closed below the EMA, and I thought, okay, if there was anything to take, it would have been wait right here. But I want to wait for a lower high confirmation. Prices continue. You technically get a lower high here, but I did not like this lower high because look at this. It's like doji, and it's pretty much almost a doji. They're all relatively the same size candle. Now, to take this as a short, you're thinking it's going to pull back into this trading range. And the reason I didn't like that, as I said before, is this trading range is pretty tight. And this breakout was so strong, compared to this failed breakout is like pretty much the size of the range. It had to have been something smaller for me to be convinced it's going to come back in. And so I just left that alone. And look, if this one would have given you a pause again, because it would have been another doji, would have given me a lot of nervousness that the trade probably wasn't correct. And the prices go down. I saw this because I still had this blue channel in play as a potential fail breakout because when it flashed back up, that's when I thought, okay, this is actually a breakout, pullback. So it broke out and it's pulling back and it's pushing back out. But as I said, I just wasn't 100% sure what I was looking at. And I was at this time thinking maybe, let's go ahead and move this out. There's a trading range here, probably about this guy. There you go. It's kind of this overlapping trading range because I was thinking, okay, there's kind of this touch, but I wasn't convinced. I just mainly had this top as a resistance. The bottom, I wasn't sure where the support was. It could have been this one here or this blue one here. So I just watched. I did see a higher low here, and that's actually why I took my second trade. So I saw this as a shortened trend channel coming down. It's a break. It pulled back, and it closed right. It closed neutral, so it is a little riskier. But I liked it kind of closed, after excuse me. So there's a shortened trend channel down. It broke out, it pushed down, and I'm watching, and I think this is a higher low. I need a second candle to tell me it truly is a higher low because I need this next candle here, which hasn't printed yet, to actually be above this guy, and it does. So actually, when this flashed, I entered before this candle closed right here. I will admit that it is a little risky, but I also saw this as this blue trading range is holding support. So I thought it was a failed breakout pullback, and I'm thinking it could potentially try to move back up. Now, it did cross my mind that this made a new low, made one push down. It pulls up, it could make a second push down. So this isn't necessarily the cleanest or best setup, but I took it. And then it flashed up, gave me a little more confidence, and I was able to get out. I'll again admit that when I saw this at the time, I think I probably reacted too quickly on this setup. It should have probably just been skipped, but it actually worked in my favor. So it's probably not that great in terms of trying to hammer out bad habits. And it flashes up. See if I had this a little bit lower, I think at the time. I saw this as second entry long. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now, even though the EMA is flattening out, there's a pretty good signal bar. I saw this as a potential triple test, or at least there's some kind of support here. Now, I didn't really necessarily have this guy down here yet because I wasn't convinced there was a support here. I thought it was still the blue one, but I saw this as potential second entry long. I thought it's a possible trade. It's a good signal bar. Even though it closed right or just pretty much at the EMA, it could, kind of bounce up because I saw this as a break of this channel, first push up, and it might make a second attempt to test this high. So if you took the trade, it would have worked out pretty well. Here's the failed breakout. Looks like it's chopping, but then the failed breakout looks like it's a failed breakout pullback. So it's pushing out and through. And then I saw this. So where this blue line, well, this blue line doesn't exist yet. So just disregard this for now. I saw this as second entry short. It's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. This is a bad signal bar though. And when this one forms, there's clearly enough room to the EMA, but I just didn't like the signal bar. I wanted a lower high, and I did see a lower high here. Now, this lower high I thought might have been a possible trade. It's confirming the second entry short. It's a good signal bar, and there's enough room to the EMA. So I'm at this point thinking that it might be a failed breakout. The thing going against it, it is going counter trend. But I also saw one leg up, push back, and there's a second leg up, and it kind of made the measure move. So it might have played out and have enough momentum to at least get you a quick scalp. Looks like if I took the trade one tick below, it would have gotten filled here and then probably gotten out here. But I also saw this as a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, failure. I also thought this was a possible trade because this closed below the EMA, even though EMA is kind of flattening out. It closed bearish. The thing that was giving me pause is potentially like this one here could have a bounce off the top of the range. So I wasn't 100% sure, if this next candle would flash through and carry back into the range. So right here, it would have made me nervous if I did try to take it because it looked like a trap, because I would have entered one tick below here, gotten filled, flashed up, and depending on how I took the trade, I would either have taken my stop loss up here or up here. This one would have definitely stopped you out if you took your stop loss right here, and you would have been safe if you're up here. But up here, you're certainly taking a little bit more risk. And this one flashed down. And it looks like it's clearly going back into the range. So I wasn't on that trade, unfortunately. Kind of makes it to the bottom. At this point, I do draw this as closer to here. And I saw this as a new low, first inch short. Technically, you don't get a second inch short till here, but it doesn't feel like it's any clean setup now. I just keep waiting. I saw this as a higher low and a failed second entry short. So there's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short right here. The second entry short fails. And there's also a higher low here. But even though it's a higher low, it has a good signal bar. It's the first break of this channel. So I'm expecting another push up. But I wasn't sure if, this being the trading range that I was established working with, I wasn't sure if it was going to hit the top here. And it kind of flashes up. I also saw this as a second entry long, first entry long, second entry long here, possible triple test. The thing I don't like about this is a small signal bar for the second entry long that it also, compared to the huge strong momentum of the push down on this red bar, it only recovered about half of it. Certainly this candle gives you more confidence as a confirmed second entry long, but it closed right at the top of this range. So it could be a first entry long, second entry long, then a failure. Doesn't fail and it keeps going up. And so that's where I end up drawing this blue line because I thought, okay, there's some kind of resistance here. So potentially I'm working with this blue line and either the bottom of this blue range or this pink one. And this might be a big range here, but I haven't colored it in yet because I'm not 100% sure. The prices continue chopping. I'm not sure what's going on. It gets a little choppy. It's going into the last hour. You make one leg up, pull back, second leg up, breaks out of the range, continues up. I see a second entry long here, but it's kind of late in the day and this feels very congested, so I don't want to take this. The price will continue, kind of goes and floats kind of into the close. So it's a pretty interesting day. I didn't see very many trades in the beginning, and they all kind of, where I marked my trades, were all kind of toward the middle to latter part. So it was I wasn't super complicated, but I didn't see, as with a lot of previous trading days, that many setups. So hopefully that was helpful.